Welcome back, Defenders. Let me ask you the question. Is Russia serious about wanting peace? And I'm going to read some headlines for you. Putin says Russia will accomplish all goals set in Ukraine. Putin confirms he's not interested in a peaceful settlement, only in victory, entailing grabbing more Ukrainian territory. Russian President Putin vowed Monday to achieve all his goals in Ukraine and celebrated the second anniversary of annexing 4 Ukrainian regions. It's now the 2-year anniversary of Russia annexing Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson, without controlling all of the territory. And Putin is reaffirming he will not stop this war. He will not stop killing people until he gets the territorial boundary of these oblasts. The city of Kherson was liberated, pre-war population 300,000 people. Putin is still demanding this city back. He's never going to stop. The city of Zaporizhia, 700,000 Ukrainian people live here. And Putin's saying, that city belongs to me. Those 700,000 people belong to me. Same with the territorial boundary of Donetsk, the cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, close to 100,000 people, all of these smaller towns. Putin is saying he's not going to stop until he gets all of it. Here we go. Russia aims to draft 133,000 new soldiers in the next round of fall conscription. Conscription in Russia is between October, November, December. These are conscripts, so these are younger Russian men who are told they're going to be doing 1 year of conscription. But at the end of that 1 year, these guys are heavily pressured to then sign contracts. And once you sign a contract, you're not getting out. You're never getting out. Putin is going to continue these wars until he rebuilds his empire. All the nonsense about NATO and Nazis and biolabs, it's all propaganda. It's a land grab. It's the only thing that Putin cares about, reconstituting his empire. What about this? Russia used Shahed drones against Ukraine every single day in September. I don't mention these in every video because they happen every day. But yeah, this seems deliberate. To deliberately attack Ukraine every single night for the entire month of September. This is Putin sending a message to the world that he's not giving up. He's never going to stop. He's going to continue striking civilian targets, continue committing acts of terrorism until the West gives in to his demands. Russian attack on Kherson market kills 6, residents urged to stay indoors. The shelling likely occurred while people honored fallen heroes on Defender of Ukraine Day. The city of Kherson is just bleeding right now. Russians on the other side of the river are using drones to destroy any civilian vehicle that moves, to drop grenades on any civilian walking down the street. This video was the main marketplace, and it was shelled with an artillery round. How do we make this stop, guys? At the moment, Russia's never going to stop. And I think Russia is looking for provocations. They're not looking to de-escalate, they're looking to escalate. Russian Su-35 shown headbutting American F-16 at a very close range off the coast of Alaska. So this is Alaska's ADIZ, their identification zone. As a foreign military aircraft, you should not be flying into this airspace. Yet a Russian bomber deliberately did it. American F-16s then were scrambled. This all took place on September 23rd to intercept the bomber. And the bomber had a Russian Su-35 escort. And the Russian Su-34 decided to, I guess the maneuver is called headbutt the F-16. Here's the video. I want you to see it for yourself. For military jets flying at these speeds, this is nothing. Look how close this Su-35 came. I mean, the pilot was able to capture this photo of the Russian pilot buzzing the plane. Putin is looking for provocations. They're looking for an incident, some kind of large-scale incident that could affect the November election here in the United States. 5 ways Russia is trying to sway the 2024 US election. There's so much news happening that when something truly insane occurs, we just move on because we have to, because there's so much happening. This is partially how Russian propaganda works, to overwhelm your senses so you can't even think straight anymore. My head hurts. And I want to remind everyone that this was proven, that RT News was funneling $10 million to right-wing podcasters here in the United States to promote Russia and to help elect Donald Trump. And Margarita Simonyan, the head of RT News, went on Kremlin State TV to brag about it. How easy it is. $10 million is nothing to get millions or billions of views across all these social media platforms, promoting people like Tim Pool, who promote Trump, promote Russia, and promote conspiracies about Ukraine. The Russians are laughing at us. It's so easy to manipulate the right here in America. So tonight, we're having our vice presidential debate. And this might be the most important vice presidential debate in our nation's history. The reason why is because Donald Trump is the oldest man to ever be nominated for president at age 78. And Donald Trump is obese. So we have a 78-year-old obese man running for the most stressful job in the world. So yes, I think there's a really good chance over the next 4 years, Trump could have a heart attack or a stroke, and then J.D. Vance becomes president. And J.D. Vance would then become the youngest president in American history. He's my age. He's only 40. The previous record holder was Teddy Roosevelt, who became president at 42 after McKinley was assassinated. But yes, there should be extra scrutiny put on J.D. Vance, given Donald Trump's advanced age and poor-looking health. If they talk enough about Russia and Ukraine, I'll make a separate video about the VP debate tomorrow. But if there's only one question in a couple minutes, I'll save it for my update video on Thursday. What else is going on? Of course, Russia updated their nuclear doctrine and people are asking questions. Recent massive drone strikes not grounds for nuclear response. This was a statement put out by Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson. He was asked this question by the reporter, and I'll read his answer. Last weekend, 125 drones were shot down over Russia. This attack is called one of the largest. Moreover, it took place after President Putin announced new nuclear doctrine principles. Does the Kremlin see this massive attack on Russian regions against the backdrop of a change in nuclear doctrine as an attempt at provocation, some kind of test of the seriousness of our intentions? And the second question, after the president signs the document, will such cases already be considered grounds for the use of nuclear weapons? Thank you. This is Peskov's response. Frankly speaking, there is no need to appeal too much to this document. It is an extremely important document. Important decisions have been taken. They will be formalized accordingly, but the special military operation continues as usual. There is no need to look for some kind of link every time this happens. This is Peskov saying it's perfectly okay for Ukraine to domestically produce their own jet drones and then slam them into Russian arsenals and bases. But the question is, what's the difference? If NATO countries are supplying the money, the financing, and all the components, all the chips, sure, Ukraine is assembling the jet drones themselves somewhere inside of Ukraine. But this isn't possible without funding from NATO countries, without components and parts from NATO countries. But this is the debate that is not going to go away over the next 34 days. I don't think President Biden is going to allow permission for long-range strikes with donated weapons inside of Russia prior to November 5th. And here's a clip that went viral from Dr. Benjamin Schmidt. He was testifying before Congress, and this is Congressperson Mr. Cleaver. He asks him the question, how do we know Russia won't respond with a nuclear weapon if we give this permission? And this was a fantastic response. I just want to play this for you guys.
Well, Congressman, I absolutely agree. We should be careful and thoughtful about this. But let's step back and look at the fact that since day one, and your colleague, Mr. Cohen, has pointed this out. Look, I'm a physicist by training, so I do this in math. This is an x minus 1 equation, where x is what we should have been doing at any given moment, and x minus 1 is our one step behind. We've always been one step behind where we need to do and support Ukraine. That's resulted in 80% of the thermal power stations in Ukraine being destroyed, 50% of electricity capacity. It has created energy poverty and humanitarian crisis, the likes of which we have not seen since the Second World War in a country. And frankly, by allowing the Ukrainians to strike not only the missiles that are incoming, but the facilities that are launching these attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, it is absolutely part of the energy security humanitarian crisis management that we need to be doing, and at the same time, we really are seeing that we're still just not doing enough, and it's going to cost us a lot more as the transatlantic community to rebuild the entire Ukrainian energy grid than it will be to protect it now. So we better do as much as we can, as fast as we can, to ensure Ukraine's energy security and help it towards victory.
What would discourage?
So that response got an applause in the room, but he's absolutely correct. We've always been one step behind where we should be in supporting Ukraine, and a consequence of this is energy poverty and a humanitarian crisis for the 40 million Ukrainians in Europe. Now, Dr. Schmidt didn't answer the question. The congressman asked, how do we know Russia won't respond with nukes if we give this permission? And I'm confident that Russia will not use nukes unless they're also threatened with nukes. I've talked about this extensively in the past, but I'll give you my top 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is India and China, the other major nuclear powers, have told Russia, you can't use a nuclear weapon out of convenience in your war of aggression. If you do, potentially India and China could participate in sanctions. The other reason is the only reason why Putin is alive, why he's able to fly to North Korea or fly to China or fly to Iran, is because the CIA is not trying to kill him. Nobody in Western intelligence right now is trying to kill Vladimir Putin. Maybe the Ukrainians are, rightfully so, but the West has decided as long as Putin doesn't use nukes, as long as Putin remains a rational actor and doesn't use nukes, we're not going to try to assassinate him. But the second you become a madman who starts blowing up European cities with nuclear weapons, you don't get to live anymore, Putin. You're going to have to pick your favorite command bunker and then go underground, and you can never return to the surface. So this is Russia's pencil, where they've drawn their red lines. Leopard tanks, Patriot systems, HIMARS, F-16s, and we just keep jumping over it. Russia's not going to use a nuclear weapon. They will accept defeat before they commit suicide, because nobody's going to win a nuclear exchange between all the nuclear powers. So we need to give Ukraine the permission to strike back. The bare minimum, they should be allowed to strike airfields that are bombing Ukrainian cities every single night. This permission will come. I just think we have to wait potentially another month. They're still there. Kremlin misses Putin's hard deadline to kick Ukrainians out of Russia. Putin ordered the territory of Mother Russia cleared of invaders by October 1st. That day has arrived, and the Ukrainians are digging into Kursk and they don't look like they plan to leave anytime soon. As far as the Glushkovo district and the fighting happening in Kursk, Ukraine is doing everything at the moment to conserve lives, to conserve resources, because there's so much uncertainty about continued military aid from the United States after the November election. But I do think Ukraine is going to hold on to this territory in Russia through this winter, at least January. Politically, what's happening here? We have to get through the November election, and then at some point in December or January, Congress is going to have to vote again on an additional year's worth of military aid to Ukraine. And for people arguing in Congress, arguing to the American people, why should we continue militarily supporting Ukraine? They can hold up this map and they can say, look, Ukraine has made progress. They can go on the offensive. They can kick ass. The Russians don't know what they're doing. Just look at Kursk. This invasion was a propaganda win for Ukraine, and this is shaping the dialogue in Western capitals. What else is going on? Russian forces enter Vuhledar, raise flags amid heavy fighting, according to analyst reports. This article is from today, but this is breaking news on Twitter. It looks like Ukrainian forces have finally pulled out of the village of Vuhledar. After holding for 31 months, the Russian military has been directly assaulting this village, unable to take it until today. Vuhledar had a pre-war population of only 14,000. And this is embarrassing. I know for people who support Russia, they say, look at the map, we're making progress. But was it worth it? The tens of thousands of soldiers died or maimed trying to take Vuhledar. The hundreds of armored vehicles, some of the most famous failed meat assaults of this entire war were against the village of Vuhledar. So, zooming out, where is this located on the map? And it's in the Donetsk Oblast, close to the Zaporizhia border. And the Russians, oh my god. All right, let's get out the map. We're going to do this for fun. We're going to go back in time 2 years. 2 years, we're going to go back in time and look at the map. This is where the Russians were, outside the village of Soloduk. And 2 years later, let's go back today, they made it to this village of Vodnane. We can get out the ruler, and they went from here to here, 14 kilometers. Over 2 years of bloody battles, trying to advance, and they've gone 14 kilometers. Russian soldiers shelled by their own forces while trying to surrender in Donetsk. There's a video. I'll link this down below. This was a Russian unit attempting to surrender to Ukrainian drones, and as soon as Russian drones spotted this, they opened fire on their own soldiers. Additionally, there's another video of Russians executing Ukrainian POWs. These Ukrainian defenders who chose to surrender, and Russia just lined them up and executed them all. So when Russian soldiers try to surrender, the Russian military kills them. When Ukrainian soldiers try to surrender, the Russian military kills them. You might be noticing a pattern at this point. What other political news is happening? Far-right pro-Russian party wins Austrian elections. This is a problem. Now, Austria is not a member of NATO, but Austria is a member of the EU. And Austria's far-right Freedom Party got most of the votes. They didn't get a majority, obviously. They got 29%, which is bigger than the other parties. And they ran on a platform of building an impregnable Fortress Austria against migrants to restore Austria's security, prosperity, and peace. But of course, they're sympathetic to Russia, they're close allies with Viktor Orban of Hungary, and they oppose Ukraine joining the European Union. They're not a member of NATO, they have no say, but they're now going to join the efforts of countries like Hungary, potentially Slovakia, and try to obstruct Ukraine from even joining the EU. So yeah, screw Central Europe, screw these countries. I actually think Serbia has not been that bad, but I don't believe Serbia is a member of the EU. But for Hungary, Slovakia, and Austria, Europe, you guys got problems. These are far-right parties taking power, who are just begging for the Russians to come closer, for the Russians to threaten Eastern Europe. There's downsides to democracy. I accept them. These are flaws. I do believe we can overcome them. It's just going to take time and patience and a lot of effort from good people like you and me, but it's exhausting, guys. Leaked documents indicate Navalny may have been poisoned before his death in prison. Putin poisoned his main opposition opponent? Hundreds of newly uncovered documents suggest Navalny's death in February of this year was likely due to poisoning. Of course Putin put this guy on a train to Siberia and then killed him where nobody could see or examine the body. He then waited weeks before the body was returned so nobody could test for toxins or poisons. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Navalny died of natural causes. This was obvious, but now we have some proof. This segment of the video I'm just going to call Things on Fire in Russia. I see these clips and videos every day of random things in Russia going up in flames, but today was a lot. This was a chemical plant in Perm. I'll link all these videos down below if you want to see them. This was another wild berries warehouse, but in the city of Barnaul. This was Hotel Kiev in Dagestan, burned down. Acts of sabotage, incompetence, poor safety regulations. It's just Russia. It's just Russia being Russia. This is interesting news. The Prime Minister of Russia visited Iran, and this is the video they put out. And I do want to share this clip, so let's watch it together. Russia and Iran are close military allies at this point. And I'm playing this clip because I didn't know who this guy was. He's the Prime Minister of Russia, Mishustin. Putin held this post between 2008 and 2012, so I knew Russia had a Prime Minister. But who the heck is this guy? I've never seen or heard of him before, and I've been paying pretty close attention to this war for the last 2.5 years. So this is the top news story in the world right now as I'm trying to make this video. Iran launches ballistic missile attack on Israel. And Israel's Iron Dome is not stopping them. Iran must be sending a lot if combined Western air defense systems are unable to intercept all of these. I can link this video down below. I'm pretty confident there will be Israeli casualties. I'm pretty confident we're going to get some more horrific pictures and videos soon to come. And it's important to remind the world, the Russians and the Iranians are military allies. They're working together. And on this channel, in the comments section, people frequently ask, Jake, why won't you talk about the Middle East? Why won't you talk about Israel's invasion of Lebanon or what's happening in the Gaza Strip? And I'm personally fed up with the governments of all these countries. I know there are governments trying to stay out of it in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, but the government of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and yeah, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't support this guy. I really don't like this guy. It's hard for me to be pro-Israel when I can't stand their prime minister, and I don't think he's taking appropriate actions to de-escalate. The official policy of Israel right now is escalate to de-escalate. Well, I don't think that's working. I don't think this is going to be resolved anytime soon, guys. I think what's happening in the Middle East is going to continue for a long time. because Benjamin Netanyahu has no interest in de-escalating the situation or having peace with his neighbors. I'm not pro-Hamas or pro-Hezbollah or pro-Iran. I think bad things should happen to them, but this guy is not helping the situation. Here's one piece of news I did want to share with you. Kyiv will not punish Ukrainians forced to get Russian passports. The Ministry of Justice of Ukraine assures Ukrainian citizens in the occupied territories who have been receiving Russian passports under duress that there won't be any punishment. Case in point, an example, if you're a Ukrainian woman in the occupied territories, like the city of Melitopol or Verdansk, and you go to a hospital to give birth, if you don't have a Russian passport yet, they take your baby away from you. So yes, I think any Ukrainian living in the occupied territories, if they've taken a Russian passport at this point, there's no shame to them, there's no dishonor. They're doing it under duress. Russia is forcing them, and they won't be punished once the war is over. One piece of good news, Denmark has unlocked $194 million to help arm Ukraine. Thank you to the fantastic people of Denmark. Final clip I want to play for you. Today is October 1st. This is Defenders Day in Ukraine. And nationwide at 9 a.m., they did a moment of silence for all the fallen heroes. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.